The first time you go 20 hours without eating, your body treats it like an emergency. By day 30, it treats the exact same 20 hours like Tuesday. That gap between emergency and routine is where almost everything interesting happens with one meal a day, and it has nothing to do with the fast itself. It's about what your body builds in the background every time you repeat it. Today, we're not walking through a single fasting window hour by hour. We're walking through what changes week by week, system by system, when you make that window your daily habit for a full month, and where it can genuinely go wrong if you rush it. Picture your metabolism as an apprentice being handed a brand new trade on day one. It technically knows the theory. Burning fat for fuel is built into human biology, wired in from millions of years before regular meals existed, but it's never actually done the job efficiently, because it spent years running on the easy trade instead. Constant carbohydrate delivery, 3 or more times a day, no fat-burning skills required. This isn't just a metaphor. The specific enzymes your body needs to run efficiently on fat and ketones aren't fully staffed and ready on day one. They get built up through repetition, the same way any apprentice needs to run through a task badly a few times before it becomes automatic. Week 1, days 1 through 7. This is the clumsy apprentice phase, and it's the part most people quit during. Your hunger hormone, ghrelin, has spent years learning exactly when to spike based on your old eating pattern, and it doesn't unlearn that overnight just because you decided to change the rules. Around your old breakfast time, around your old lunch time, it fires anyway, loud and insistent, even though you're not eating and nothing is actually wrong. This isn't willpower failing. It's a hormone running an outdated schedule, still checking a clock that no longer applies. Here's the part that matters. Ghrelin can be retrained. Research on meal timing shows that hunger hormone release will gradually shift to anticipate your new eating window instead of your old one. Once that new window becomes consistent enough, day after day, for long enough. You're not fighting hunger forever. You're waiting for the schedule to update, and the update only happens through repetition, not through gritting your teeth harder. Week 1 is also where the rough physical symptoms cluster. Headaches, fatigue, a short temper. This is mostly your kidneys adjusting to lower insulin levels and releasing more sodium and water than usual, taking electrolytes with it as they go. It feels like the diet is failing you, like something has gone wrong. It's actually your plumbing recalibrating to a new normal, and it responds fast to salt and water, often within a day of getting enough of both, which is one of the more reassuring facts in this entire process. Week 2, days 8 through 14. This is where the apprentice starts getting good at the job. The enzymes involved in fat oxidation and ketone production, ones with names like CPT1, are being upregulated through repeated exposure to the fasted state, essentially your cells manufacturing more of the specific tools that job requires because they keep getting asked to do it. Practically, this means the transition into ketosis each day gets faster and smoother than it was in week 1. The brain fog that used to show up around hour 14 or 16 on day 1 now shows up less, or not at all, because your body isn't scrambling to build the machinery from scratch anymore, it's just running a process it already knows how to do. There's a second, quieter adaptation happening in week 2 that almost nobody talks about: your stomach itself. Eating one large meal instead of several smaller ones means your stomach has to stretch further to accommodate the volume, and that stretch receptor system, along with gut motility patterns, gradually adjusts to expect and comfortably handle a bigger single load. Early on, one large meal can feel uncomfortably heavy, almost like overeating, even when the calories are appropriate. By week 2, most people report that same-sized meal sitting far more comfortably, digesting more smoothly, without the sluggish, overstuffed feeling that showed up in week 1. Week 3, days 15 through 21. This is where body composition actually starts to shift in a measurable way, and it's also where the muscle question gets real. Time-restricted eating studies consistently show fat loss over this kind of time frame, but lean mass outcomes depend heavily on one variable people underestimate: how much protein is actually in that single meal, not just how many total calories it contains. Studies that included adequate protein in the eating window, generally somewhere in the range of what an active adult needs across an entire day, showed largely preserved muscle mass. Studies where the one meal was carb-heavy and protein-light showed more lean tissue lost alongside the fat, sometimes a meaningful fraction of total weight lost. The fast isn't what protects your muscle. What you build the meal around is what protects your muscle. And week 3 is exactly when that difference starts showing up on a scale and in a mirror. Week 4, days 22 through 30. By now, the appetite signaling has largely caught up to the new schedule. Leptin, the hormone that tells your brain you have enough stored energy, has had a full month to recalibrate around your new pattern, and many people report their single meal actually feels sufficient now, satisfying in a way it didn't in week 1, not like damage control after a day of white-knuckling hunger. The autophagy that a single 18-hour fast triggers once has now happened roughly 30 separate times, a repeated cellular cleanup cycle instead of a one-off event, though the size of the additional benefit from any cycle beyond what your body actually needs is still genuinely debated among researchers, not settled science the way the acute mechanism itself is. Now, the skeptics will say, 30 days of this has to be starvation mode, your body has to be breaking down. For most healthy adults eating adequate total calories within that one meal, the research doesn't support that claim. Metabolic rate doesn't crash the way people fear, from time-restricted eating specifically, as opposed to genuine long-term calorie deprivation done carelessly. But there's a real caveat hiding inside that skeptic's objection, one worth taking seriously instead of dismissing outright. And it deserves its own moment, not a footnote at the end. Sustained, severe restriction of your eating window, especially if the single meal doesn't cover your actual energy needs day after day, week after week, can affect hormone systems that a one-off 23-hour fast never really touches. Thyroid conversion of T3, the active thyroid hormone your metabolism actually runs on, can slow under chronic energy scarcity as a protective, energy-conserving measure, the body's way of buying time. In women specifically, the hypothalamus is sensitive to perceived energy availability, constantly reading signals about whether the current environment can support reproduction and growth. And menstrual cycle disruption has been documented in cases of sustained, significant undereating, sometimes appearing gradually enough that it's easy to miss the connection at first. This isn't a reason to avoid one meal a day. It's a reason to make absolutely sure that one meal actually contains enough food, not a token portion that leaves you in a calorie deficit steep enough to worry your endocrine system every single day for a month straight. Here's the protocol for doing 30 days properly. Step 1. Build the single meal around adequate protein first, roughly what you'd eat across an entire day if you were still eating 3 times, not a scaled-down portion size like a normal dinner. This is the single biggest lever protecting your muscle across the month, and it's the step most people quietly skip because one plate of food feels like it should be smaller than a full day's worth. Step 2. Salt your water deliberately during week 1 specifically, when the electrolyte shift is steepest and the symptoms are worst. A pinch of sea salt once or twice a day, dissolved in water, will resolve most of the headaches within a day or two, often faster than people expect given how rough week 1 can feel. Step 3. Keep total calories honest and actually track them for the first couple of weeks if you tend to underestimate. One large meal is easy to undereat in without noticing, especially once appetite starts shrinking around week 3 or 4. If you're losing weight faster than expected or losing energy instead of fat, the meal is too small, not too disciplined, and that's a signal to eat more, not less. Step 4. Reassess at day 30 rather than defaulting to forever. 30 days is enough time to see whether this genuinely fits your life, your training, and your hormones, based on how you actually feel and perform, not just what the scale says. Extending it is a separate decision, made with actual data from this month, not momentum or sunk cost. A necessary caveat, worth hearing all the way through rather than skimming. This is not appropriate for anyone pregnant or breastfeeding, anyone with a current or past history of disordered eating, anyone on medication for diabetes or blood pressure without direct medical supervision, or anyone who notices missed or irregular menstrual cycles once starting. Those are signals to stop and talk to a doctor, not signals to push through and prove something to yourself. 30 days is a long enough commitment that it deserves to be treated like the real intervention it is, not a casual trend to try because a video made it sound simple. By day 30, the apprentice isn't an apprentice anymore. The same 20-hour window that felt like an emergency on day 1 runs quietly in the background now, with none of the drama it started with, none of the headaches, none of the clock watching. That's not because fasting got easier in some abstract willpower sense. It's because you built the machinery, repetition by repetition, meal by meal, to make it easy, the same way any real skill gets built. If you're on this journey, tell me which week broke first, for you, the hunger, the headaches, or the habit itself. I'll see you in the next one.